And a real legend, sir. Real legend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sridharan. Good meeting up with you. Good to see you virtually, at least.
Great, sir. We
God
must meet,
you.
sir. After this COVID is over, sir, we must meet sometimes.
Yeah, okay. In Pune?
Yes, sir. I believe you come to Pune, sir.
I come to the Limb Center sometimes.
Okay, sir. Great.
Doc?
Yes.
Hello, Doc.
Yeah, Krishnamurthy, sir. Yes, sir.
Before our friend Brigadier Apte takes over, I want to add on a small matter which Air Commander Sridharan has already spoken. First of all, sir, good evening, Ian sir. Wing Commander Krishnamurthy, who had airlifted all you people.
Good to meet up with you also. Great.
So I just want to add what Sridharan already said, and you know that person, Flying Officer A.C. Sharma, the ground
ACT.
The pilot on the ground who was coordinating. ACT. Okay. Now he used to say, when we said we were ready to go wherever Sharma was. That was a very blind faith we developed. And Sharma at one time, I remember telling me or telling us in the cockpit, I can't see you, but I can hear you. Don't come that side. Come this side. It was his professionalism which spoke. He says, I can hear you. I cannot see you, but don't go that side. Come this way. And we were sure enough, we avoided the ground fire. We went, landed, and picked up again. So these kind of thing when we were on ground to help us. I mean, what else you expect us to do? We have to give only the best. And we did as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Now they can take over. Yes.
Thank you, Krishnamurthy. God bless you. Good to meet up with you also.
Thank you, sir. Before our Brigadier Apte sir takes over, I have the pleasure of intimating you, sir, that apart from these two valiant pilots and helicopter pilots, we have some other fighter pilots also on the call today, sir, in the form of Longlevel Battle Hero Group Captain D.K. Das, sir, Veer Chakra holder. And we have Wing Commander Quatra, sir. He's also one of the Veer Chakra holder fighter pilot. And we have Karnik, sir, Wing Commander Karnik, another great pilot. And we have all these galaxy of stars today, and they will be discussing with you during the question and answer session. And before that, our two more brigadiers, sir, our Brigadier Ajit Apte, sir, and one more Brigadier Prakash Gogle, sir, is also on the call. So just for your information. It's so great. Sir, Brigadier Apte, sir, you may continue interacting with him in the second phase. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Air Commodore Sridharan, sir, Wing Commander Krishnamurthy, sir, and all the galaxy of the Air Force people. After I have finished, I am going to hand over to Brigadier Prakash Gogle because,
yes, sir,
as General Cardozo mentioned, it is very important for everyone to realize that ultimately it is the boots on ground which will dictate the quantum of victory. It is very easy. I am an artillery officer, a gunner. We will, of course, fire and give the due firepower. The Air Force will give its firepower and its integrated air support. Victory is measured on ground, and victory is measured specifically by the boots on ground, by the great infantry people. And as General Cardozo mentioned, there were so many dead, there were so many wounded. Same way was the case in Brigadier Prakash Gogle's unit. I have also seen lying around people dead and wounded. It's a very disheartening thing, and I think our Air Force, especially Group Captain Chandan Singh, hats off to all of you that you managed to airlift and evacuate those who needed medical attention. On that score, General Cardozo, sir,
yes,
you are probably the only cadet in the National Defense Academy as the Academy Cadet Captain of the 12th NDA course who won the President's Gold Medal and who also won the Silver Medal for standing first in the overall order of merit. You are a topper in the Indian Military Academy. You chose to join the great Gurkhas, and their legacy is already known because after the Second World War, Britain took, if I am not wrong, at least one Gurkha brigade, which today is located in England. I have met some of them. My first question to you, sir, is what motivated you or prompted you to join the Gurkha Regiment? And just tell us briefly of your experience in the 62, 65 and 71 wars, specifically how you got your leg requiring amputation and the great daredevil action that you took. I've had the great opportunity of meeting your commanding officer, Colonel Harolikar, later as a brigade commander. I was a brigade major of the neighboring brigade, and I did hear him mention your name, though I had never had the great opportunity of knowing you then in 1982. But today, as Air Commodore Sridharan has mentioned, we are all grateful for you to come. So can you kindly just answer this question of mine, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier Apte. You know, different things motivate different officers to join different regiments. When I was a young boy in St. Xavier's School, my father used to bring books to me to read about World War II and other war stories. And amongst them was a book called Bugles and a Tiger by John Masters. It is a book of his story about the 4th Gurkhas. And that's my first motivation and input into what the Gurkhas are all about. At the IMA and the NDA, I was very fascinated by my NCO and JCO instructors and officer instructors on the Gurkhas. So I decided at that time that this is where I want to be. And I was fortunate to be high enough in the order of merit, not only to choose my regiment, but to choose my battalion. So that's how I landed up in the 1st Battalion, the 5th Gorkha RIfles. With regard to the 62, 65, 71 war, since we have a large Air Force audience, I would like to say a few things about these wars. In 1962, the battalion was airlifted to a place called Dapurijo, which was about 20 days march from Jorhat. So that march, there was no road. And forward of Dapurijo, the international boundary, was 18 days march. Now, we were the first troops to be inducted into the Northeast Frontier Agency to combat the Chinese, because the Chinese had attacked Longju at that time in 1959. So 4th Infantry Division from Ambala went into Nifa. Now, our intelligence was so poor, was so bad, that in the month of April 1962, after having served there for 3 years, we knew the ground backwards. We had wrecked all the areas in that area. We were pulled out from Nifa and sent to a peace station. And 4 months later, we were fighting with them and we were not there. So then we were sent as reinforcements. We were sent in reinforcements as part of 5 Infantry Division, and we set up our defenses short of a place called Chaku. And I was responsible for blowing up an ammunition dump, which made such a tremendous noise that the people of Tezpur thought the Chinese have come and let us run away from. So my experience with the 62 operations was not hand-to-hand combat with the Chinese. But in 1965, battalion was re-raised on the 1st of January 1963. And within 6 months, we were holding pickets on the line of control. To cut a long story short, we were pulled down for training. And while we were training, the war broke out. So now the 4th Battalion, the 5th Gurkhas, was the only reserve in the whole division. And we were used like a fire brigade fighting fires all over the division. Now, in this war, my company, Alpha Company, was divided into two. One to escort vehicles from Pathankot to Rajouri, and the second from Rajouri to Jammu, and Jammu to Poonch. We relieved Poonch. Poonch was cut off for 10 days. We relieved Poonch, and we were treated like great heroes. But I've taken about 250 vehicles to Poonch, and I was told, take them back tomorrow. I said, sir, if I go tomorrow, there are 300 to 400 guerrillas waiting for us. So we should not go back tomorrow. Let's go after a couple of days, after we ensure that there's no roadblock. He said, no, I'm giving you an order. This is war. So anyway, I don't want to tell you the dialogue which took place. However, we were told, in the army, we work on trust. We were told that I made a request that the ridge line from Poonch to Bimbar Gully should be held, half by 93 Brigade and half by 120 Brigade. It was confirmed to me that this was done, but it was not done. I got involved in a huge ambush. My company 2IC was killed. He was a very brave JCO, Bhim Bahadur Rana. His number was JC 1111. We used to call him Ek Saab. And Ek Saab got out of his the lead vehicle, decapitated the rocket launcher, because the rocket launcher took off the heads of my best NCOs. And he was taking out his kukri, killed the second rocket launcher man, when his kukri got stuck in the head of that man. And he got killed with about 23 to 24 bullets in his body. My platoon commanders were then next to launch an operation called Operation Gajra, where again we suffered very heavy casualties. In the Gajra operation, since we had lost a lot of casualties, my company was in the reserve. But when we started climbing the ridge and the bullets started flying from the adjoining ridge, my commanding officer, I told the commanding officer that, sir, that ridge must be held, otherwise we will be in trouble. He said, you're in reserve, what are you bothered about? Anyway, he said, he told the RT PC battery commander to register that ridge as a target, which never happened. But when the bullets started flying, I was in reserve, but probably he had more faith in me. And he said to me in Nepali, Kartus Kasto Hola. Kartus means Cardozo, Kasto Hola means how about it? These were his 3 words of command. And I didn't stop. I never said, sir, I'm in reserve. Sir, you told me I'm not going to be involved. I straight away took my company, went up the ridge, suffered a lot of casualties. My wireless operator, his wireless was shattered. I had no communication. My runner, who was by my side, got killed. Bullets were flying all over the shore. I got wounded, but I just carried on. And we beat back the infiltrators, 2 counterattacks. But we had suffered very heavy casualties. And I told, now how do I communicate with the CO? My radio set was out. My runner had got killed. But I sent the radio operator without the wireless, said, go and tell the CO, please send reinforcements, otherwise Alpha Company will be written off. Luckily, Charlie Company came at the right moment when the 3rd counterattack came. We beat them back. So we suffered a lot of casualties. I saw a lot of my people who I trained with, I lived with, die in my arms, die in battle. It was not a nice feeling. But the Gurkhas they were unperturbed. Although we suffered heavy casualties, they were ready for more. As Sam Manekshaw said, if any man says he's not afraid, either he's a liar or he's a Gurkha. So the Gurkhas are very brave troops, very disciplined. They will do what you do, but they require very good leaders. And the army officer leads from the front. We do not say, tum aage jao, hum piche aa raha hai. We say, mere piche move, follow me. And the troops, our troops are the best in the world. They follow their young officer, their young tiger, because they know their officer is right in front, facing the maximum danger, facing the maximum bullet. And when he dies, the JCO or the NCO takes charge and captures the objective. So that is what the army is all about. Persistence, courage, and love. I think love is a word which people think the army, फौजी लोग love के बारे में क्या जानते हैं? But it is love. Love of the country, love of the people of India, love of the regiment, love of the way of life, love for adventure that makes us what we do. And if necessary, give up our lives for the country. So that's what the Gurkhas are all about. Now coming to the 62, 65, 71, 99 operations, and how was the Air Force involved? Now we suffered a very serious setback in 1962. This need not have happened because Chinese had no aircraft within striking distance of Nifa and Ladakh. Operations had been conducted by Air Force officers, and information was given that the Chinese Air Force cannot operate in this area. If the Indian Air Force was in support of the army, this reverse in 1962 would not have happened. Unfortunately, we had a prime minister who took counsel of his fears. He asked Ambassador Galbraith of the USA, should we use the Air Force? And he said, no, they might attack Delhi. They could not attack Delhi. They had no air bases anywhere next to the border even. So the Air Force would have played a very great role in 62, but was not given the opportunity to do so. In 1965, the Army and the Air Force were fighting wars apart from each other. There was no jointmanship, and we ought to have learned by then. We did learn in 1971. In 1971, we had a great Army Chief, Sam Manekshaw, a great Air Force Chief, Marshal Lal, and a great Naval Chief, Nanda. But here, Nanda, the Navy, the silent service, did a tremendous job in attacking Karachi, destroying the Pakistani Navy. But it went in at great risk without air support. When we set Kiamari oil fields on fire, the Indian Air Force attacked the same airfield the next day. So jointmanship, better coordination could have been done in 65, which was not so. And also in 71, of course, in 71 it was very good. In 1971, the Air Force made sure that the Pakistani Air Force in East Pakistan was knocked out of the sky. The Indian Army could freely operate on the land, on the ground, because the Air Force was in total command of the skies. We launched every type of operation. We launched paradrop operation. We launched a heliborne operation. We launched river crossing operation. We launched amphibious operations. All because the Air Force were dominating the skies. But we did not learn. Again, in 1971, cooperation sorry, in 1999, Kargil Ops, there were a lot of hiccups between the Army and the Air Force. So the lessons that I would like to tell Brigadier Apte, his question about 62, 65, 71 applies also to the lessons we learned from these wars for the future. And I'm sure by now in the future, of course, some people have said some silly things about the Air Force, which is not true. The Air Force is a separate entity by itself. It has a separate strategy, but ground support and air support is one of the strategies which must be looked at in greater detail. The Army cannot function on the ground unless the Air Force dominates the skies. Army, Navy, and Air Force need to operate in jointmanship better than ever before. Because the next war will not be like 1971. It will be a totally different type of war. Have I answered your question, Brigadier Apte?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I echo your sentiments and words. We are four people from the Army here. Colonel Samant was with me in my sector, only in the Jessore Khulna sector. Brigadier Prakash Gogle, another very dear friend. That makes us three, and you are the fourth. Indeed, echo your words. Hats off to our sky warriors. They dominated the skies. They dictated terms to the Pakistan Air Force. They knocked them out. And that is how I always maintain a favorable air situation was converted to air superiority. My question to you next, and the final one, sir, is you are aware that on 16 December, you met with a personal discomfiture, because I don't like to use the word handicap or a challenge, because those words are not there in your dictionary. As you have proved subsequently by leading from the front that this was not a challenge to you, you surmounted it. First Army officer to command an infantry battalion, and as I said, you are still running. I know of a story where you gave a presentation, and after doing that, you wanted to swim in the afternoon. And someone asked you, sir, are you sure? You said, yes, unless I swim, I will not feel all right. You took out your leg and you did swimming, and you attended a party in the evening. And if I'm not wrong, you were also seen on the dance floor very active. This is an excellent example of determination, grit. Just quickly summarize for us, sir, what led to your little discomfort on your leg, and after that, what was that motivating factor which even today, at this young age of 84, I think you are still very active, and God bless. We wish you the century to come. May I request you, sir, that tell us something, what keeps you going despite this little challenge?
Okay, thank you, Brigadier Apte. As I mentioned earlier, in the Battle of Sylhet, the regimental aid post where our medicines, etc., were stored, and the Dr. RMO, regimental medical officer, was operating, was destroyed. So when I stepped on a mine, there was no medicine. I asked the doctor, can you give me some morphia? He said, I don't have. Pethidrin, I don't have. I said, can you get something to cut off this leg? He said, I don't have anything. I said, go and find something. So he went, and he took a long time to come. And I then realized that I've got my kukri. What's the kukri for? So I told my batman, Bal Bahadur, I said, Bal Bahadur, where is my kukri? He said, here it is, Saab. I said, I gave it to him and I said, cut this off. He said in Nepali, Saab bol garnu saktaina. Sir, I cannot do it. Dr. Saab lai intezar kar. Wait for the Dr. Saab. So I said, he's taken over half an hour now, 45 minutes. And give me the kukri. And I chopped off my leg and I told him to go and bury it. And I jokingly say now, I own land in Bangladesh, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. So that is. Then the CO, I told the CO, I said, sir, there are no medical facilities here. Can you please get me a chopper and get me to the nearest Indian medical hospital? So he tried. By this time, Dhaka had fallen and the VIPs were going for the surrender. So there was no chopper for Major Cardozo. So the Pakistani garrison commander who had already surrendered, he heard about this and he said, we have a hospital here. We will operate on Major Cardozo. The CO said, Ian, this is what it is. There's a full-fledged hospital here and there are doctors and they're military hospital and they're prepared to operate on it. So I said, sir, no Pakistani doctor is going to touch me. He said, gangrene will set in and you will die. So I said, sir, I won't die. He said, all right, sir, I have under 2 conditions. I'll be operated by a Pakistani under 2 conditions. He said, what are they? I said, I'll not take Pakistani blood. He said, don't be foolish. So I said, I'm prepared to die of food than live with Pakistani blood. So he wasn't very happy. And he's a very, very fine officer, very courageous, very bold, very kind. And he said, what is your second request? So I said, sir, wherever they operate on me, I want you to be there. I don't trust them. I don't want them to cut off my good leg. So he said, okay. And I don't know even today whether he was there or not. But this much I will say, that the Pakistani officer, Major Muhammad Bashir, did a very good job. And if I am okay today with my amputated leg, it's because of him that he did a good operation. And I hope that somehow my thanks can be conveyed to him for a job well done. That is what happened about my leg. However, after that, in the hospital, we were told that there is no policy for battle casualties and you are not permitted to go back to your battalion. So now that is the only life I knew, which is the only life I loved. I loved my Gorkha men and officers, and I was quite devastated. But as Brigadier Apte has said, Douglas Bader, I was given a book by the Red Cross sister, book titled Reach for the Sky by Paul Brickell about the life of Douglas Bader. Now I must tell you about this man. As Brigadier Apte has already told you, he had lost both legs and he became a flying ace by destroying 51 German fighter aircraft. Sorry, 21 German fighter aircraft. And then he got shot down over Germany. And you know, a Spitfire cockpit is very, very small, and both his legs got stuck. And when his parachute opened, his legs got left behind. He landed on his stumps and got hurt very badly. So the Germans were very elated that they had captured an air ace, British air ace, and they took him to a hospital and they treated him. He said, they asked him, what is your request? So he said, I want my legs. He said, your legs are they're destroyed. They're in the destroyed Spitfire. So he said, no, I have a pair of reserve legs in England. So then how can they come here? He said, you can. Tell them to fly it out here, have a corridor of peace for that period, and drop my legs over the hospital. So a Dakota came, dropped his legs over the hospital, and they gave Douglas Bader his legs. What did he do that night? He escaped. With those two artificial legs, he escaped, but it was winter and it was snowing badly. How far could he go? He was captured and brought back and put on the first floor of that hospital. And they took away his legs.
Oh.
But his courage and indomitability was so much. He crawled from bed to bed. He took the bed sheets, tied them together, made it into a rope, tied it to a bed, took it out of the window, and got out of the hospital and was crawling in the snow when they captured him again and sent him to Colditz, C-O-L-D-I-T-Z, which is the highest security POW prison in Germany. And there he remained till the end of the war. So I said to myself, if Douglas Bader, behind his two legs, could do so much, why can't I do similarly? But I did not know how to do it, what I would do. But one thing I must say to everybody who's listening, that India is a very spiritual country. We believe in God and we have faith in God. And if you do what you have to do, irrespective of the consequences, God is always there to help you. And opportunities came to me one after the other. I took the battle physical efficiency test. I left 7 officers with 2 legs behind me. My director of military operations was very impressed. He made an application to the vice chief. The vice chief said, come with me to J&K. He was going from post to post by a chopper, and I was going down with the vehicles. On the last post, a friend of mine was commanding the post. I climbed up about 4,000 feet to meet him. I had breakfast with him. And when the vice chief landed, he said, how have you come here? So I said, I can climb. I climbed, sir. He said, you can climb? I said, sir, what I can or cannot do is not known to my senior officers. He said, what do you mean? I said, sir, they have not given us the opportunity to prove ourselves. So we went back and he went to the chief, General Reiner, and he said, sir, this boy can walk, he can march, he can run, he can climb, he can swim. Why can't we give him a battalion? So the chief said, I am going to Ladakh, send him with me as my staff officer. I went with the chief to Ladakh, clambered over snow and ice. When I came back, he said, he sent for my file and wrote on my file, yes, give him a battalion and other war disabled officers who are not taking shelter of their wound, meaning they have to prove themselves. General Reiner did not run to the bureaucracy and to the MOD, Ministry of Defense, to ask for this. He gave a decision which was followed by the army. So later on, I commanded the battalion in the line of control, had many adventures. But when it came to command of a brigade, again, army bureaucracy said, there is no precedent. No one with a leg has been made into a brigade commander. So the MS phoned me up and said, you've been approved for commander for promotion to brigadier rank. So I said, sir, have you decided on the postings? He said, no, but as far as you are concerned, we are posting you to Kundragat, the Gorkha recruiting depot. I said, what is the criteria, sir? That I should have no one leg missing? He said, don't be cheeky. I wrote to the army chief. I said, sir, I have the honor to inform you that I have been approved for command for promotion to brigadier's rank. But MS branch is HRD, equivalent of HRD. MS branch has a about my physical ability. If I can command a brigade, if I can command a battalion, Higher standards of physical efficiency are required in lower ranks. If I can command a battalion, there's no reason why I can't command a brigade. We had a chief, General K. I was lucky. God was there. KVK Rao was the big commander when the separations. Sridharan would know. And he said, why are we troubling this officer? Is the problem. If there's no precedent, create one. Give him command of a brigade. That's why I got a brigade. The first army officer to be approved for command of a battalion and a brigade, commanded a division subsequently. But I must tell you, when Brigadier after he was talking about swimming, when I go to the DSOI swimming pool, I go in my swimming costume and my wooden leg. And in the month of May, all the officers, their wives, their children in the holiday month are swimming in the pool. And when they see this one-legged man coming to the pool, all conversation stops. And they're all looking at me. This strange man with the wooden leg, what is he going to do? So I take off my leg with as much dignity as I can manage. I dive into the pool, and I'm a very good swimmer. And we people who are disabled always have a chip on our shoulder. We want to prove that we are as good, if not better than everybody else. So I sort of try to show off. I do about 10 lengths non-stop, breaststroke, freestyle, butterfly. And all these people who thought, oh, this fellow with one leg, how will he get into the pool? Now they come to me, the parents, and say, will you teach my children to swim? So that is what disability is all about. We want to prove to others that we are not less than anyone else. So when I got command of a battalion, they were in the desert. So I came back to my first battalion after 18 years. Nobody knew me except the 2IC and the Sultan Major. And I came back with 2 bottles of scotch, and as I've come back, I went to the mess. It was at night. And they weren't too happy to see a one-legged man command this battalion. This battalion was a very brave battalion. Lots of Mahavir Chakras, Veer Chakras, Sena medals, very, very 4 Victoria Crosses. So I could see that they were not too pleased. They didn't give me a very warm welcome. Anyway, I said, what is the program for tomorrow? They said the program for tomorrow is that we are going on a 40-kilometer route march. Now, I was training at Delhi every day doing 6 to 7 kilometers. Where was 6 or 7 kilometers compared to 40 kilometers? That too in sand. But I told myself, you have been boasting that you are as good as the people with 2 legs. Now is your chance to prove it. Either you do the 40 kilometers or you are not fit to command this battalion. And the 2IC said, there will be a jeep for you. I knew if I sat in that jeep, I could never command this battalion. So next morning, I took the report at 5 in the morning, and the CEO of the 2IC said, sir, the battalion is ready to march off. There's a jeep for you. I said, I'm not, send the jeep away, break it off. I don't want the jeep following me wherever I go. He said, no, sir, please come in the jeep. I said, who's commanding this battalion, you or me? He said, you, sir. I said, get the boys ready, give the orders for the march. I'm going to march along with you all. So I marched from 5 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. That is 4 in the afternoon, 5 and 4. 10 hours of marching non-stop. I didn't stop. But when I finished that route march, I was filled with so much confidence. I was empowered. And I called my officers and I said, gentlemen, I didn't volunteer to come back to this battalion. And I think you are not too happy that I'm commanding it. Let me assure you, I know more about this battalion than you could ever know. Secondly, you will come up to my standards of physical fitness, so I'll not spare you. And I said, lastly, you will help me to make this battalion the best in the Indian Army. And that's what that battalion is today. Today, that battalion is the best battalion in the division. It is the only battalion in the Indian Army which has got 4 Chief of Army Staff citations, other than the paras and the RR who are permanently in J&K. We only go every 3 years. So that is what I can tell you, Brigadier Apte. Oh no, one more thing. And then we went, prior to moving to, we were in Trivandrum. I marched from Kanyakumari to Trivandrum, 150 kilometers in 3 nights. My leg was in a mess, but I did that. And then we went for a picnic to Kovala. It was June, the monsoons were about to start, the sea was very rough. And one of the children, a 12-year-old boy, was carried out into the sea. I taught him how to float. He started shouting for help, help me, help me. Nobody had the guts to jump in and help him. I had to take off my leg, and two officers had to launch me into the sea. And I went up to him and brought him back. So now I could tell the officers, I could do something which you could not do. So don't try and tell me that I am disabled. I'm as good as you, if not better. That is what Brigadier Apte also has said. And that is what most of us more disabled people want to prove to others, that yes, we are as good as you, if not better. All we need is the opportunity to prove ourselves. Have I answered your question, Brigadier Apte?
Thank you very much, sir. Excellent. Before I ask the guardsman, Brigadier Prakash Gokhale, a dear friend of mine, and Air Commodore Sridharan and Wing Commander Krishnamurthy to step in, I must inform this wonderful Air Force gathering. I read the book Reach for the Sky as a cadet in the NDA in 1966. I had the great honor, I was proud to go to England twice. I visited the Battle of Britain Museum. I have been to Douglas Bader's, place where he was honored. I have driven past Saint Omer Hospital in France, where he was captured. For information of those here, Adolf Hitler ordered the Royal Air Force, as General Cardozo mentioned, a safe corridor was made over the English Channel. 2 fighter bombers dropped the artificial legs from a company called De Sutter and Company in London, who excelled in making artificial limbs. Douglas Bader was honored by the Luftwaffe after the war. He also was honored by the government of France. He won the DSO twice, DFC twice, and he was given the rare honor by the King of England to lead the Victory in Europe fly past as the war finished on 9 May 1945. So Victory in Europe was heralded by the Royal Air Force and none less than Group Captain Douglas Bader, who led the Victory fly past. Not only that, Douglas Bader came to India in 1960. He was posted on a foreign assignment to Australia, and then he was discharged from service. So he was leading some Burma Shell or Caltex company. He came to India in 1960. He stopped over in Bombay, and it is believed that he is one of the architects who say that no one is disabled, they are only specially abled, and which General Cardozo has very aptly put across very well. Thank you, sir. You have been an excellent example. Following you, there are many junior people who have reached the ranks of Vice Chief of Army Staff and Army Commander, just as you have exhibited it yourself. I'm now going to request Brigadier Prakash Gokhale, another man who fought gallantly as the adjutant of Battalion, the Guards Brigade, as it is known, Brigade of the Guards. He took part in the Battle of Hilli, but I'm just going to hand over to him because his session is being held separately for all of you. It was one of the bloodiest battles of the 1971 war, and he also has heard of General Cardozo, as I have, as you all have. Over to you, Brigadier Gokhale, sir, for any comments from your side before I sum up General Cardozo's talk and hand it over back to TBR for opening the question-answer session.
Thank you, Ajit. It was very motivating to hear General Cardozo. I met him last when in Delhi during the release of the book edited by him, in which my article was also there. It is indeed very, very motivating to hear you, sir.
Quest for freedom. Quest for freedom.
Yes, sir. And I didn't know you were from St. Xavier, so here's another Xavierite with you.
Are you from Xavier? Oh,
as General Rodriguez also.
yeah. But which year did you pass out from St. Xavier?
Pass out, I was there for about 3 years. I was
Okay.
in middle school.
So are you part of Duke in Altum?
Sorry?
Are you part of the organization called Duke in Altum?
No, not really, sir.
I tell them to contact you. You must be part of us. You're a Xavierite.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. And thanks to you, another course mate of mine who lost his leg, another Gurkha, late Pramod Bhanot, also got to command a battalion and a brigade. Sir.
Yeah.
So it's all due to you that, like Brigadier Apte brought out a lot of wounded officers have been able to, command battalion brigades. And as he said, the Vice Chief General Oberoi was also differently abled. I just want to ask you, sir, that how many were the casualties? You suffered very heavy casualties. I'm sure your battalion got the battle honor and the theatre honor, but I think must have 384 attacking, rather countering 8,000 troops. I mean, very, very heavy casualties. And I don't know about the awards, but I hope they were commensurate to the number of casualties that you had, sir. That's my only question. Again, very motivating to hear you and, of course, my dear friend, Doc Sridharan. But he's also my course mate, incidentally. And just wanted to know, sir, your thoughts on that.
Okay. I'm glad you asked this question. And I will reply in a very candid manner that we lost 4 officers killed, 7 officers wounded, and only out of 18, only 7 survived with minor wounds or not wounded at all. Only 7. So we suffered loss of 4 JCOs, 39 killed, 123 wounded out of 384. So nearly half the battalion was either killed or wounded. Now, when the corps commander ordered 45GR to capture Atgram, to capture Ghazipur when another battalion failed to capture it, and then ordered it to capture Sylhet. So was this the only battalion in the division? What I'm trying to say is, when you commit a battalion again and again, and they suffer very heavy casualties, should not that battalion be awarded with medals, awards, commensurate with what it put in? I'm afraid that did not happen. We got just 2 Mahavir Chakras, 2 Vir Chakras, and a couple of Sena medals. The company commanders were young officers, they did a great job. The Vir Chakra went to an Air Force officer and went to, we were very kind to an ASC officer. He was very brave. He came to deliver supplies in the helicopter and said, "Sir, you are short of officers. I volunteer to stay back." And he stayed back and he commanded the platoon and he commanded it well. So he also got a Sena medal. So the thing is, but we deserved much, much more, but we didn't get it. However, in the army, we don't complain. We just do our job. We don't look for rewards. We do what we have to do. And that is what happened with Prakash Gokhale. So just too bad. We deserved more, but didn't get it.
Just to quote, I think, legendary Brigadier Desmond Hayes, he says, in battle, a soldier gets no reward, but the glory and the honor of the regiment.
Yeah. And he also said something else, which I'd like to repeat for all the people who are listening. He said, he was the platoon commander in IMA when I was a cadet. And he said, battles are won or lost in the mind before they are won or lost on the ground. And he proved it in the Battle of Doberai. And I know 8 Guards did a fantastic job in the Battle of Hilli against odds which were unacceptable because there was no reason it could have been bypassed. But I don't know why the hierarchy wanted you all to capture Hilli. You have suffered very heavy casualties. Am I right?
Yes, thank you, sir. We had 68 killed and 70 killed, including attached, 2 attached, and 135 wounded, including 5 attached.
I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you very much, sir. It's a great pleasure to see you after a very long time.
Same here.
Next time you come to Pune, do let us know. We can, Doc and I and Ajit can come and meet you, sir.
Okay, certainly. We can all meet here.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prakash, sir. Before I hand over to PBR, let me just say two things only. One is General Cardozo has written a number of books. And believe me, about 25 days back, he called me up. I was very surprised to get a call from a senior general. He said, I don't know you. I said, sir, you don't know me, but I know you. I have never met you. But I know you because I keep mentioning you on the same page with Douglas Bader since I give a lot of leadership talks. He said, you know, I've taken a story of yours and published it in my book, 1971 War. So I bought the book, I read the story, marvelously described by General Cardozo what story I wrote about my blindfolding Flight Lieutenant Parvez Bedi and the gallant dogfight which took place over my gun position, in which all air people would be keen to know, which I've already mentioned. Thank you very much, sir. I must sincerely convey my gratitude to you. You have been so nice that you included my story in your book. I am honored. That is point number one.
Thank you, Ajit.
Point number two is, I don't think there are any ladies on this webinar today. But General Cardozo was married during the 71 war. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
And
have 3 children.
yes, sir. Whereas all of us else, at least junior people like us, there are very many senior people, they were married, like Wing Commander Karnik and Commander Katra. But we were all bachelors. And I think we must pay a great tribute to the lady, Mrs. Priscilla Cardozo. So kindly do convey our great gratitude and thanks to her, because I'm sure she has been a great line of support for you when you were wounded, and the ladies always play a great part. So I think this group, from my side and on my behalf, we would like to acknowledge our great thanks to her for taking care of you to ensure that you are still fit and fine. So a great thanks to the great lady, Mrs. Priscilla Cardozo, from all of us. And
Thank you so much, Raji.
thank you, sir. And now, Mr. TBR, you
Yes,
are the chief conductor, the orchestrator, and everything. And on behalf of us 4 army officers, General Cardozo, Brigadier Prakash Gokhale, myself, and my dear friend Samant, we ground forces people acknowledge with a great salute you air warriors, for whatever we have been able to do is because of you all men in the air, or the air warriors. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, for allowing me to carry out this interactive session. Pardon me, I am not as good as Arnab Goswami, but I do hope I have been able to bring out the best in General Cardozo and make this an interesting evening. Over to you, TBR. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, Brigadier Ajit Apte, sir, for your wonderful articulation of the gratitude and conducting of the interactive session with our Major General Cardozo, sir. So hats up to you. And it was, I mean, because you are the person who arranged this program for us. So all the air warriors on the group, so feel a kind of gratitude to you and all the 4 ground warriors on the call today, including our Brigadier Gokhale, sir, then Colonel Samant, sir, and including our chief guest and you, sir. Salute to you from all our air warriors for enlightening us with your enriched experience from the ground side.
Thank you.
So as it is, the marvelous story, our glorious story, the story inspiring thousands and lakhs of people across the armed forces, is the story of our Major General Cardozo, sir. It's my goodness, it's really mind-blowing, incredible and amazing journey when you start narrating your real life stories, starting with this beheading all the soldiers with the cookeries during that time, 8th, 9th, 10th of December 71. Really, sir, it's really hair-raising kind of thing to listen to such a real life story. And we salute your bravery, sir. all the times leading the troops from the front. So be it 62 or 65 or 71, a really incredible one. I think hardly anybody we can expect to lead such a valiant or display of gallantry in the face of the enemy when you were losing your own men and officers in the battle. Still, I think I really it's heartening to see. that you were fighting for the motherland without food, without even medicines, without anything, even sleep during nights also. So we, from all the air warriors, never experienced this kind of hard battle, hardened situation. So now we had the stories of all our pilots. They were, in fact, going penetrating the enemy and bombing them and coming back. But such a difficulty that you have faced through the jungles or through in front of the enemy. But the story of only 389 people and our troops and confronting more than 8,000 soldiers from the side. I think nowhere we could hear such a great story. But in spite of, it was a blessing in disguise that reporting was done by BBC reporter that as if our battalion was landed there. So that was the blessing. But even after that, further, the way the things were managed on the ground, even when the Pakistani officers came for a truce with the white flags, the way you handle from the battlefront or your team handle, really hats off to you, sir, for all that. So managing the things, the decision-making power, and your stories, the stories of great courage, bravery, and which we have never heard of. So we all salute you, sir, for your wonderful display of gallantry. And apart from that, the way you led your life or the way you got your deserving due in the service, in spite of being disabled, but you are specially able, and the indomitable will which you cherished throughout, with which you carried on your life, with the spirit, not maybe physically, but with the spirit that you have, is we salute your spirit of that unrelenting courage to get to carry on the whatever you learned in our training, and to went on to become a major general with specially able kind of thing, a unique of its kind. So again, I once again salute you, sir, for all the, we respect you. We pray for your good health. We would like to see you as a centenarian, maybe now 84, 86. God bless you with all the health and wealth till then, sir. So,
Thank you.
so now we have so many our air warriors on the call, having gallantry awards also, like our Group Captain Das, sir. So I would like to request Group Captain Das, sir, to ask some questions to our chief guest today. Group Captain Das, sir.
I will just sum up and say that we, the air warriors and the ground warriors, have told in no uncertain terms, and the accolades which they have heaped on Major General Saab, I don't have to add anything further. All that I say is 3 cheers for our Major General Saab, and I cannot say anything more than what has been already said by our air warriors and others in this session. So thanks a lot, and hats off to Major General Saab. Jai Hind.
Are you the same Group Captain Das, Das who was the Battle of Longewala?
Yes, sir. He is the hero of Battle of Longewala. Yes.
Okay. Can I speak to him?
Yeah, please, sir. He's on the call. Yeah.
That's I want to tell you, Group Captain Das, that and also Sergeant Rao, my book. I'm not boasting. With all humility, I'm saying that the book has gone into a second reprint within less than 2 months.
Oh, that's great, sir. That's really great.
So I would, some of you can afford to buy this. About the thing about Group Captain Das is that I have mentioned him in the story of Longewala.
Oh, that's great, sir. So what is the name of the book, sir?
The name of the book is 1971, Stories of Grit and Glory.
Oh, the Stories of Grit and Glory. Yes, sir. I think we will all buy it. Thank you very much, General Saab. Very nice of you. And once again, hats off to you, because in front of your bravery, my busting up the tanks is nothing.
I was saying to Group Captain Das that the story of Longewala, the title is Long Shot at Longewala, and I have mentioned you in that story. Group Captain Das, I mentioned you in that story. And there are the story about the surrender at Dhaka is
Sir.
titled The Last Straw. So I don't know whether you would like to read the stories of this book.
Yeah, we definitely, sir. We all would like to read your book, sir.
Penguin, 1971, Stories
Yes,
of
sir.
Grit and Glory.
Oh, definitely, sir. I will share with all our airways also. We will definitely buy and read it.
Thank you.
So it would be a great honor for us also to read your great stories.
I have bought the book and it's very well written. And Group Captain Das's name is there. Excellent.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay. Yeah, sir, would you mind sharing that photo of the book on the WhatsApp so that others can feel easy to buy?
Yes,
You want to see it?
I will do it. 1 minute.
Yes. Yes.
You go ahead with your question answer.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now we have our senior fighter pilot, Wing Commander Karnik, sir. He's also a Veer Chakra holder. Karnik, sir, you may kindly ask.
Is the same Karnik who was 8th Coast JSW?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Same person.
Yeah,
Okay.
hello, General Cardozo.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. You're senior to me, 8th Coast, I'm 12th Coast.
Yeah.
12th JSW, you're
Yes, I was JSW there at Dehradun.
Clementown.
General Cardozo, your narration is beyond belief. Excellent, I would say.
Thank you
You
so much.
know, additionally, you also did not know, I also did not know. Both of us are Xavierites.
Oh,
I
you
was
too?
in the school from 1943 to 1952 when I finished my SSC. So we have something great in common.
That
And you
means-
mentioned something about your group of Xavierites. I didn't know about it. Can I have some more details if at all I can join?
Yes, certainly. I'll contact you through Brigadier Apte.
Sure.
There is a group called,
Sure.
the Saint Xavier's motto was Duk It Astum, which means lead on high. And I passed
Yeah.
out from St. Xavier's in 1953. And you passed out in 1952.
That's right. That's
So-
right.
We must
That's
be knowing our same teachers.
Yes,
All-
common teachers. We'll have lots in common, really, to even bring back our memories of the yesteryears, which, of course, we should not fill up the time now at this
Yeah.
forum.
Okay. Yeah.
Second thing we have in common was in May 2015, both of us were participants in the TV show Barkadat and Arnav Goswami and all those people. If you remember,
Okay. Yeah,
If
I
you
remember.
on the OROP,
Yes.
that is a time, and
remember.
you had pretty, yeah, that's right. Anyway, excellent. I would love to be in touch with you to know a little more, much more, really, not a little more, much more, and have a tete-a-tete of the yesteryears and the time in Xavier's. How many years you spent in Xavier's?
43 to 53.
Yeah, the same. I also joined in 43 and SSC in 52.
Oh,
Yeah, we have lots to talk about.
yeah. Not on this
all
show,
the
but
very
we can
best.
talk.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, all the best.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Wing Commander Karnik, Veer Chakra, sir. And we have another Veer Chakra holder, Wing Commander Quatra, sir. You may like to ask. Quatra, sir.
Good evening.
He's a-
Good evening to you. I'm based in Mahou.
We're in Mao.
I'm in Mahou.
Oh, no.
That's correct. Close to Indore.
Yeah, I know. My wife is from Mao.
But at present, I think you are in Delhi or in Pune.
Delhi.
Because last 15, 20 days back, when virtual opening up book was there, I attended your show.
Oh, how nice. Thank you so much.
In fact, I was very keen to ask you a couple of questions, but now it's too late. I am not going to take too much of time of everybody, but I will get the telephone number from TBR and then I'll ask you about your great talk, General Cardozo. It is eye-opening for most of us. A first-hand information, a first-hand happening on the field. I have operated on the air, and it is very difficult to visualize what is actually happening on ground, except watching ACAC, watching small arms fire, small arms fire aiming at low flying aircraft. That's all. But in those 45 minutes hour sorties, we have also gone through lot of tremendous amount of pressure because a single person has to do so many things. It is beyond. One cannot explain in 45 minutes, or even when I'm talking to you, because I generally don't prepare my notes and talk. One thing I wanted to share with you, that is the Gorkha Battalion. What I remember in 71, Kargil area, I don't remember the exact date. It was 6th or 7th of December. I was flying Vampire aircraft, again made of wood, I'll say
65.
60, no, in 71.
71.
71.
You're flying vampires in 71?
That's why I want to talk to you on those lines.
Bapre.
And when we were asked to give close support to an army battalion which was based in Kargil landing ground. That was known as ALGs those days.
Okay.
And that peak was being held by Pakistani, and they used to fire mortars and a lot of guns. And people, they were not getting their, what do you call it, daily ration or whatever armed supports and which is in for the forward area troops to be active. So we carried out a couple of attacks. I think three sorties that day, 6th or 7th of December. One Gorkha battalion was there, and in which I think Major Nathan lost his life.
Okay.
And company, all the battalion, I think that was one of the company only, which was being led by Major Nathan. After having seen by your troops of Gorkha battalion, they got so annoyed that they took out their kukris at night and climbed the that peak in order to carry out a recce also after the thing. And GOC wanted first an information, because now the guns have been silent. How come there is no? And plus, I was told that when they climbed, a lot of injured Pakistani soldiers were there. They chopped up their necks, and that's all. Because we were operating from Srinagar, and we were going from Punch to Gate and coming to Kargil and going to Polthingthang river area and carrying out a lot of air support. But since I left that area on 18th morning from Hakim